The Great Cosmic Mother, Rediscovering the Religion of the Earth by Monica Sjõõ and Barbara Moore. The World Egg YinYang. The ancient Great Mother of all living gave birth parthenogenically to herself and the entire cosmos. She was the world egg, containing the two halves of all polarities or dualisms, the yin-yang of continuity and change, expansion and contraction of the universe. This process is symbolized by the spiral turning continuously in on itself, by conscious breath waking from sleep and sinking back into sleep. Kali, or Uranim, dancing the universe into being and then to destruction and death. The ascending spiral is matter transforming into spiral psychic energy. Simultaneously, from the descending spiral, the materialization of the spirit comes the differentiation of the whole manifested world. The spiral involution of energy into matter is the primary movement of the universe into created beings. The spiral evolution of matter into energy is the creative movement of these beings consciously evolving back to their source, inhaling and exhaling breaths of living cosmos spirals, the universe into creation and dissolution, energy into matter, world into spirit. Radiant energy can be transformed into massive particles and vice versa. The spiral is the symbolic key to immortality or eternal process and is identified with the moon. Ancient as this cosmology is, it remains the most accurate statement of cosmic process yet made. 20th century physicists, using their very different mathematical language, have only been able to confirm these ancient conceptions of how the universe creates and recreates itself. The world egg, two halves were white and black, light and dark, day and night, hot and cold, life and death. It contained within itself all oppositions, but it also stated the union of opposites, as the continuum is contained and synthesized within the spiral. In the Orient, some early time in the millennia before our era, this idea was formalized in the concept of yin-yang. Yin, or negative principle, originally referred to the dark or shadow side of a mountain, it shared attributes with the earth, moon, and water. Yang, or positive principle, signifying bright banners in the wind or the light side of a mountain, as linked with the sky, sun, and fire. After several generations of Eastern philosophers, everything became classified under these categories, including the sexes. Yin was female and yang was male. But this Eastern dualism differed originally from the moralistic dualism of Christian West. Yin and yang were not seen opposites vying for control over the universe, nor was one good and the other evil. On the contrary, yin and yang constantly complement each other to maintain cosmic harmony, and they are not fixed, static principles, but transform each other and transmute into each other in an ongoing process. Without the eternal movements and interchanges of these forces, life wouldn't exist. Winter, which is yin, changes into summer, which is yang. Both yin and yang can create, both can destroy. The life-giving sun, which can also scorch and kill life, gives way to the dark, barren cold of the earth, in which new life seeds will invisibly germinate. The yin-yang images and conceptual categories are pagan, quote-unquote, from the land, since they emerge from close, prolonged experience and observation of natural processes. These processes are not linear, but cyclic. Life transmutes into death, which turns into life again in a great revolving wheel. The moon goes through its changes, dies, and is reborn because it circles in a circling cosmos. And so the moon, like the serpent, is the avatar of these processes. The psychic focus is not on the mutual antagonisms, but on the subtle interchanges and permutations, the dance of the polarities. Later, Mandarin philosophers like Confucius used the yin-yang principles to serve the hierarchic politics of the Chinese court and the patriarchal state, emphasizing dominant yang over submissive yin. Earlier Taoists, though gave full value to the negative force or shadow side, yin, as a creative power equal to the yang. Taoism, a mystic and sexual religious philosophy, originated in ancient Chinese matriarchy, which saw the male as the earth animal and the female as the animal of change or transforming principle. The original Qing characters for the female and male principles, the receptive and the creative hexagrams, contained these matrifocal meanings. As Western alchemists and later Western physicists were to confirm, it is the negative pole that initiates the creative activity of matter. Some physicists theorize that the universe began to organize, gathering shape and motion in the shadow sides of randomly scattered particles. Also, until recently, scientists have assumed that the weight of the universe was in bright stars and speedy particles. But now they have found enormous amounts of dark, cold matter circling the stars and all galactic bodies. And this matter is preponderant and responsible for the weight of the universe, which functions as gravity. As they report, the structure of the whole universe appears to be shaped by the gravity of dark matter. What that has been called the dark, the negative, the female, in both the celebratory and the pejorative senses, is now seen to be the original creating and sustaining force of the universe. If the expanding universe is ever to contract again, it will be from the gravity of this dark matter. The corruption of the original yin-yang oracular mystical synthesis into a dualistic system of hierarchy, dominance, and oppression occurred in the East as in the West. In the shift of human culture from land tribal to court hierarchy, i.e., in the shift of matrifocal rural to patrifocal urban social structures. In the patrifocal struggle to property and power, the yin-yang equation became a tool, a weapon of inequality and repression, both economic and sexual. Now, the yin as receptive female was interpreted as sexual, intellectual, and spiritual passivity, inferiority, and subordination. Yang as the active masculine was interpreted as sexual, intellectual, and spiritual aggression, superiority, and dominance. In the West, these religiously institutionalized sexual dualisms have created the ideal heterosexual patriarchal marriage in which a sexually oppressed and economically dependent wife serves a sexually and economically dominant husband. These concepts are highly political and serve to maintain and justify patriarchy and the subjugation of women. Yin wisdom is scorned by men as irrational weakness, and yang power is used to justify any kind of exploitive action, no matter how unjust and brutal. But these are not the original meanings of these terms. The original meanings apply to the interworkings of rather interpersonal and certainly non-domestic forces, much like the negative and positive electric poles in a battery. As R. Buckminster Fuller put it, energy, when its potential is built to sufficient voltage, must arc over the dominant negative.